Hi everybody, Steve Griffiths here, developer of the MTPredictor software program. In today's MTPredictor video, I'd like to look at our new Holy Grail trade setup that we have in our new MTPredictor 8 version. But as usual, let's start with our risk disclaimer and just remind everyone that all examples in these videos should be considered as hypothetical. No trades were taken. They're shown for illustration and trading purposes only. Remind you all there's risk of loss in trading and investing. We'll be looking at some losing trades in today's video as well, and remind you that all trade decisions are your own sole responsibility. Right, let's go and have a look at the ES on a 3-minute chart from yesterday. If we start actually, let's start by going out to the higher time frame chart. You can see my analysis from yesterday, so you can see where our 15-minute resistance actually was yesterday. It caught the high of the day, but let's just show you where I put that on the chart. So I'll go out to the higher time frame chart. Just delete everything off. Remember, the higher time frame is a time frame between 3 and 5 time frames higher than you're trading. So if you're trading a 3 or a 5-minute chart, the higher time frame would be in the 15-minute. If say you're trading Forex on a 15-minute chart, the higher time frame would be the hourly. If you're trading daily stocks, the higher time frame would be weekly. So let's use our training mode and perhaps jump back to before yesterday even started. So there we go. What we do is go back to prior swing highs and lows. You can see here there was a swing high here, a pivot here. So we right mouse click, do a decision point, and can you see even before yesterday even opened, so before the market even opened yesterday, that was an area of potential resistance. It was on the chart there in advance. Let's now move forward. The market opens and goes up into that level, and as I go forward it actually creates a DP sell on the 15-minute chart, but can you see how it came in, and if I turn training mode off, that actually was the high of the day. Let's see how that looks on a 3-minute chart. So there's the resistance area, the 15-minute resistance area on the 3-minute chart, and you can see how it nailed the high of the day. And actually there was a nice DP sell in that higher time frame resistance, which is also on a black MTP trend, a flat MTP trend. So you could have actually taken that sell setup there and actually put a nice 2.8 hour profit in the bank on that particular short trade. And actually that was the very bar of the high of the day. So you had a DP sell that nailed the very bar of the high of the day yesterday. So that was a good trade, but I don't want to talk about that in today's webinar. I wanted to look at what was going on here. So let's see what happens if I go back to our trading mode, back to here somewhere. What we're looking at is a major high. We like this to come in at a higher time frame resistance, and as you can see already this came in at our higher time frame 15-minute resistance. In Elliott wave terms, this is where we start the sequence, and this is why I've developed my unique isolation approach to Elliott wave. Rather than trying to fit in Elliott wave with patterns in the past and into the future, which I believe doesn't work because markets go in cycles, and sometimes the pattern is unclear, therefore the Elliott wave patterns don't work. What I do is look at things in isolation. So what I do is I start at what is a logical place. In other words, where we have higher time frame resistance, this is a logical place for our sequence to start. So the initial decline off that high would be considered a wave 1 in Elliott wave terms. Then the initial correction would be considered a wave 2. In Elliott wave terms, the best minor pattern within a wave 2 is a minor ABC. So if we get a minor ABC correction in here, then we're likely to have a wave 2. And why is that so important? Well, after that you tend to get a wave 3, which is the strongest and longest wave in a completed 5-wave sequence. Let's move forward. And here we have it. So here we have the initial correction after the initial move off a major high. If I right mouse click on this, do analysis, you can see that's exactly what we got. There's our ABC, the software's found. Because this is potentially a wave 2, that's why it's called a Holy Grail, because we're looking to go to the typical wave 3, WPT is our target. In other words, we're anticipating a strong move off this wave 2, in other words a wave 3 swing. The reason I've called this a Holy Grail is not because it has a high percentage of winners, it's because when the trades come through, the profits are large. You can see here the potential profit would be 5 times greater than the initial risk. Remember, we use correct position sizing to keep our initial risk small and under control. In this case I'm using a sample $20,000 account, but you can have set up different size accounts if you want, risking less than 2%. Let's move forward, and here you can see what happened off this particular trade. It came down, just clipped you in, and then would have stopped you out. So this is what happens with trading, is you can and you will get losing trades. I'll repeat that. Every professional trader knows and understands there will be losing trades when trading. But because we keep our position sizing, we use our position sizing, we keep our losses small. So this would be what we call one risk unit. And that's why we have our profits in risk units, not just in dollars. So this would have been one risk unit loss. In other words, a losing trade. Let's just clear this off. You can see there's a history triangle on there to show you that that would have actually been a losing trade. Let's move forward. There's another Holy Grail trade set up. If I go forward, that one wouldn't have actually been filled. You can see there's the entry level. I go forward, it wouldn't have actually been filled. We get another potential setup. Let's move forward. Again, this one would not have been filled. We go forward. There's another potential setup coming here. So we've had a couple of potential ones and one losing one. Now this one is slightly different because the entry and stop level and the way the swings are unfolding, this is where our target would be. In this case, it would be a potential 6R profit. In other words, the potential profit would be 6 times greater than the initial risk. Let's move forward a bit now, and you see you would have been taken into a new short trade. If I turn trading mode off, you can see this is what the market did after that. It then declined all the way down to here, where you would have actually, or potentially, could have come out with a profit of approximately 6R, or 6 times greater than the initial risk. This was actually strong because as the market was coming down, it had gone beyond our strength band, which is our grey bands here. So the standard MTPredictor guidelines say that when you reach your first target, which would have been here, if the market's strong, i.e. below our strength bands, you use your ATR stop, which is our red dots in this particular case, to trail your protective order here, on the idea being that if the market's strong, the market's probably going to go further and trend a bit further. So in other words, you would have come down to here, where you've been stopped out around about there for a potential, can I call that 7R rather than 7.3, just for easy maths. In other words, it would have turned an initial risk of about $370 US, ignoring slippage and commission, into just over $2,700 profit, or 7 times greater. But can you see now why I like this particular trade setup and why I call it a Holy Grail trade setup? Because you can see our first setup there was actually a 1R loss, in other words a losing trade, but the loss was kept small at just one risk unit. Then when the profit came through, the profit was large, in this case 7 risk units, or 7 times greater than the previous loss. And that's why I like this trade setup, because it has the potential to make big profits while keeping your losses small. In Elliott wave terms, again, let's just review this. If I use training mode again and I go back to where this Holy Grail trade setup came in, if I put our major pivots on there, you can see that there's the major swing high. Here's our major move. This would be wave 1. Our major initial correction here would be wave 2. If I right mouse click and do Elliott wave intermediate, whoops, my mouse isn't particularly working there. But if I now perhaps turn this off, and you can see that the market moved down. If I try and put the Elliott wave major on here, you can see that this is what it would have been. It would have been initial move would be wave 1, the initial correction would be wave 2, the swing after that would be a wave 3, and as we've already seen, it's gone beyond the typical wave 3 WPT. So that's the Holy Grail trade setup in MTPredictor, where we're looking to catch an ABC correction as the initial correction after the initial move off an important high or low, in this case an important high. I'll just take those pivots off just so we clear the chart up a bit, and there we go. So that's what unfolded yesterday with our first Holy Grail trade setup here. As we've already seen, would have been a losing trade. Again, it's important to understand that losses can and will and do happen, and there's an example of one yesterday. The next Holy Grail trade setup would have come in a little bit later, which was here, and that, whoops, I think I need a new mouse, would have been here, which came down to the first potential profit target of a profit of potentially plus 6R, but because the MTP trend was strong, you'd have used your ATR stop, which is the red dots, to take it down to that level to increase the profit up to 7R. So yesterday was a very, very good day, where, as we've already seen, you would have had a DP sell there off the very bar of the high of the day for a nice 2.8R profit. You then had a minus 1R loss, and then there would have been the Holy Grail trade set up, as we'd already seen, for plus 7R profit. So a very, very good day. And also set up in advance, nailing the high of the day. In other words, as we saw at the start of the video, this higher time frame 15-minute resistance was there in advance, which gave you an advance warning of a potential resistance area, which, as you can see, nailed the very high of the day. Now, obviously, not all days are as good as this. Markets go in cycles. This is what we teach in our training. If I go back to the previous day, there wasn't really anything going on here where the market was unclear and the picture was chopping around. So that's why we don't have MTPredictor as a mechanical system, because we don't believe in trading all the time, because we only want to trade when the picture's clear. And this is a good example of where it was clear, because as we've already seen on our 15-minute chart, that high came in perfectly at our DP resistance, so a very clear, clean picture, and then the setups came in very nicely after that. As we can see what's going on today, picture's unclear, we stand aside. So a great example of MTPredictor's Holy Grail trade setup there, and how it unfolded on the ES on a 3-minute chart yesterday, which was April the 19th.